Every year about this time, WWE presents its premier event, WrestleMania. There won't be 80,000 screaming fans in a stadium due to the current circumstances. We emanate from a closed set with no audience.
2020 has been a tough year for everyone, and WWE hasn't escaped the hardship. They were forced to cancel their plans to hold WrestleMania 36 in Florida due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and alternatively had to host WrestleMania and all their television tapings at the Performance Center in front of no audience. This went on for a number of months before WWE would move to the Thunderdome in Tampa, which utilized virtual fans and fake crowd noises.
And welcome to WWE'S Thunderdome!
It's certainly been a weird year to be a WWE fan, as the shows simply haven't felt the same. Thanks to the pandemic, a lot of storylines, matches and returns were cancelled, meaning fans never got to see what they had planning for some of their major angles in 2020. But which ones were they? Well, join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 cancelled WWE plans in 2020 due to COVID-19. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Number 1. Walter vs Finn Balor. At the start of 2020, WWE had ambitious plans to expand the exposure of NXT UK. They were going to do this by having the NXT UK champion Walter feud with the first Universal Champion and former NXT champion Finn Balor. WWE were going to have the two men feud across NXT UK and NXT shows in the US, leading to a major showdown between the two men in the summer of 2020. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, these plans were cancelled.
Walter, you and I share a lot of traits. But the title you hold, it's on borrowed time.
NXT UK was put on the shelf for the majority of the year, and so was the feud. In its place, Balor would win the NXT title in September, and Walter would return to NXT UK once tapings resumed. Now, it does look like WWE still plans on doing the feud, as Balor has hinted in interviews that he still wants to face Walter, so it may be a possibility, but perhaps we'll have to wait until 2021. Number 2. Braun Strowman vs Sheamus for the Intercontinental Championship. When Roman Reigns dropped out of WrestleMania 36, they replaced him with Braun Strowman. Braun would actually go on to win the Universal title from Goldberg and would have a respectable run with it. The initial plan for Braun was to have him face Sheamus for the Intercontinental Championship, and WWE thought this was a WrestleMania-worthy encounter. The storyline was actually hinted at in weeks prior to relocating to the Performance Center, and it no doubt would have been a match and a feud that would have appealed greatly to Vince McMahon. Number 3. Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's last appearance in a WWE ring took place at this year's WrestleMania. He would put over Drew McIntyre in the main event and solidify Drew as the top new guy on Raw.
And the new WWE Champion, Drew McIntyre!
Now, there were initial plans to bring Lesnar back in the summer of 2020, but obviously those plans didn't occur. Vince McMahon had the logic that it would be a waste of Lesnar's drawing ability to use him in shows where fans couldn't simply attend. Thus, Vince opted to keep Lesnar away from the WWE until they can get fans in attendance once again. The creative plans for Lesnar looked to be another showdown with Drew at SummerSlam over the WWE title. However, there were also rumors of Lesnar facing Bobby Lashley, which had been a dream match for a lot of fans for a number of years now. This aligns well with the new renewed push of Lashley that started around the time Lesnar would have been returning to WWE television. Number 4. NXT at Survivor Series. For the 2019 edition of Survivor Series, WWE dropped the Raw vs SmackDown formula in favor of adding NXT to the mix. This was because NXT had just debuted on the USA Network, and they were treating it as a third brand, so it made total sense for the yellow brand to get some involvement in the annual pay-per-view.
We have now fired the first shot! Raw, SmackDown, let's see what you got.
NXT would actually be presented well, as on the show they would even win the most overall matches, which certainly did a lot to expose the brand. However, when 2020 came around, they decided not to use the formula again. Their logic was that the 3 shows mixing was simply too much and too risky with the ongoing pandemic. It's likely that if things are back to normal in 2021, the involvement of NXT at Survivor Series will once again return. Number 5. Queen of the Ring. WWE had planned to include a Queen of the Ring tournament as part of their yearly programming for several years. It looked like 2020 was the year they were finally going to do it. Triple H had famously mentioned back in 2019 that it was coming, with summer of 2020 being the rumored date for the anticipated event. The event was going to be a 3-brand crossover event to crown the first ever Queen of the Ring in the WWE. But due to the pandemic, the tournament was scrapped completely. Brian Alvarez would reveal that the tournament was scrapped on the Wrestling Observer Live, stating, "A couple of days ago we were talking about the Mae Young Classic and coronavirus and everything like that. I believe that the actual idea for this year was a Queen of the Ring tournament, so not a Mae Young Classic but a Queen of the Ring tournament. That is now off due to coronavirus. Had there not been a global pandemic, I believe what you would have seen this summer is the Queen of the Ring tournament." Number 6. Kevin Owens' pirate ship jump. WrestleMania 36 being relocated to the WWE Performance Center meant that the large-scale WrestleMania setup couldn't be used. The setup included a massive pirate ship, and this was a pirate ship that Kevin Owens was planning to jump off during his match with Seth Rollins at the event.
I went to that stadium in February. When I got there, I saw the giant pirate ship they have. So I said, I'm gonna jump off that thing.
Owens would instead opt to jump off the WrestleMania sign at the event, which was still incredibly impressive and one of the highlights of WrestleMania weekend. Number 7. Hulk Hogan return. Before the pandemic took over the world, there were actually plans for Hulk Hogan not only to return at WrestleMania 36, but actually wrestle. The initial plans included Hogan competing in the annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and actually winning it. The creative pitch was actually signed off by Vince McMahon, who thought the live crowd would love the return of Hogan in this capacity. A WWE source told WrestlingNews.co that the idea was he wouldn't take any bumps. We would work it so he would only have to eliminate 1 or 2 guys at the end, and then he would get his big celebration at the end with his music. It would have been perfect because he lives in the Tampa area. Number 8. Roman Reigns wins the Universal title. The Universal Championship match for WrestleMania 36 was supposed to be Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. However, Reigns decided to sit WrestleMania and the next few months out due to concerns over his health. Reigns was initially going to beat Goldberg and carry the SmackDown brand all through the summer months as Universal Champion. Instead, WWE placed Braun Strowman in Reigns' intended position, a move that received mixed reviews from the fans. Reigns would be absent from WWE until SummerSlam, where he would return as a heel. Now, this would be the first time Reigns has been a heel since he was in the Shield, and once again, he would be positioned as the face of the SmackDown brand. Number 9. The Nexus returns. The Nexus stable had all the potential in the world. This was before bad creative quickly ruined the stable and it just fizzled out completely. However, the stable was extremely popular as stars such as Daniel Bryan and Wade Barrett all went on to have great WWE careers. And believe it or not, there were actually plans for the Nexus stable to return to WWE in 2020. How this reunion would have surfaced is unclear, and it's also unclear what members of the Nexus stable would have been involved. We do know that Darren Young was one of the names who WWE contacted to return, and Young revealed that the stable was going to return at WrestleMania 36. Speaking to the VP show, Young stated, "If Nexus would have come back, and who knows what would have happened, but we were scheduled to come back for WrestleMania. Yeah, this year's WrestleMania in Tampa." And number 10, WWE's Big Summer Angle. WWE traditionally plans a long-term angle to begin in the summer each year. For instance, Vince McMahon's limo exploding, CM Punk's pipe bomb, and the Nexus invasion of WWE were all long-term summer angles with the intention of maintaining fan interest throughout the summer months. In 2020, WWE planned to use this formula once again by booking a major long-term angle for the summer. However, due to the pandemic, as well as the fact that WWE would have no fans to react to the angle in question, it was cancelled. Wrestling Insider WrestleVotes would offer some insight into the angle, saying, "I've been told that there was a long major storyline that was to unfold over the span of weeks during the spring and summer, similar to the McMahon limo explosion or the Nexus invasion debut that was put on hold due to no fans in attendance. Crowd reaction plays a major part." What do you guys think this storyline would have been? Let us know in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.